Have you ever met someone who was doing the thing you've been dreaming about doing and thought, she's so brave. I wish I could do that. Maybe you thought they are more qualified, more talented, more experienced, more fill in the blank. The truth is, they probably aren't any more qualified than you. They've just learned to master their mindset and overcome their fears. That's what we're going to talk about today. So grab a pen and paper. You're going to want to take some notes on this one, my friend, and let's get into it.
Welcome to the Discovering Your Calling podcast. I'm your host, Sherry Miter. I'm here to help you unleash your strengths and get clarity on your calling. I believe when you find your purpose in life, fulfillment, joy, and success will follow. If you're ready, pop in those earbuds, hit that follow button, and join me on this journey toward discovering your calling.
All right. So as I shared in the teaser intro, a lot of times we look at other people and we think, oh my gosh, I wish I could do that. Or she's so brave. You know, they're more talented, they're more experienced, they're more qualified than us to do the things that we want to be doing, but fear holds us back. And here's the thing, those people you see doing things, they're afraid just like you and I are. They've just learned to master their mindset. They've learned to get into a growth mindset and not stay stuck in the fear mode. And I want to share with you 5 things that I've learned. They're tools that I put into my toolbox to overcome fear when it steps in. Fear that will keep me stuck from achieving anything I want to do in my life. And last week, you may have heard on the podcast that I am in the process of writing a book. First time ever writing this book. And let me tell you, every single day, I have to overcome the battle in my mind. You know, self-doubt creeps in and I think, how can I even write a book? I can't even spell and my grammar is atrocious. Not to mention that I can't even pronounce words like atrocious correctly half the time. And some days imposter syndrome kicks in and I think, who am I to write this book? What if it's horrible? And then fear. Fear pops in all the time. This fear of, what if I spend all this time and I invested in a coach and writing program and do all this work and no one buys the book? Then what? And these are just a few of the things that creep into my mind every day. And I could let all of these doubts and fears keep me from writing this book. But you know what? I don't. And I show up every day, well, almost every day at my laptop, despite all of these fears and doubts. And again, I want to share these with you today, the tools that I use so that I can show up and sit down at the laptop and work. And there are things that I do to overcome my fears and to get into that growth mindset that's needed to do anything out of my comfort zone. And most of these tools are things I've collected over my almost 58 years of life. July 4th is my birthday, by the way. So the fireworks, when you're watching fireworks, think of me, for those of you in the United States. But anyway, I digress. So these tools are things I have collected over the course of my lifetime. Many of these tools came from my days in network marketing when I had some fabulous leaders and mentors who taught me how to overcome the fears that I had when working that business. And they're all tools that you can now put into your own toolbox. And you can pull out anytime you want to achieve something new and you're about to step outside of your comfort zone. Use these anytime that fear creeps in and anytime that doubt is keeping you from achieving the greatness that you're meant to achieve in this world. So are you ready? This is where I want you to pause this podcast if you need to. Go grab a pen and paper so you can jot these down. Okay, let's jump into it. So the number one thing is to remember your why. What's your deeper purpose for doing this thing that you want to do? For me, that deeper purpose for writing this book is I know in my heart and my soul that the 8 phases that I teach in my Discovering Your Calling Academy and the process, they're unlike anything else out there. And I know that when they're implemented, they can change lives. And I know that when I write this book, it will reach more people than I'd ever be able to coach in my lifetime. And I have a feeling deep down that it can possibly change lives, might even save some lives, and it can build better relationships. It'll just make for happier, more joyful, fulfilled people that will make an impact on the world. I know it can have a ripple effect. And that's the thing that I have to keep in my mind when I'm wondering, why the heck did I decide to write this book? And when you look at this, I want you to do, there's an exercise we actually do inside of the Discovering Your Calling process, and it's become affectionately known as the peeling back the onion. And anybody that's ever worked with me for any length of time knows about peeling back the onion layers. And basically what it is we keep asking, well, why does that matter? Then why does that matter? And then why does that matter? Until you get to the root of the deeper why that makes you tear up, hence the onion. And it's the why that makes you cry. Remember, that's the why that's going to keep you moving forward, even when doubt and fear creeps in. So what is that why that makes you want to cry? Keep that in mind. That's number one. Number two, the second thing you can put in your toolbox is change your thoughts about what success looks like. Here's what I have to think sometimes when I think about writing this book, that, you know what, I may not write the next best-selling book. I may not write a book that thousands of people will read, but what if I write a book that just one person picks up, and that one person reads this book and it changes their life? If that's what happens, and that's the only thing that happens, then you know what? I feel like I will have succeeded. And society may be telling you that success only happens if you're making 6 or 7 figures, in your business or in your career. Maybe success is having a certain title, or that success only comes if you're wearing a size 4. That ship has long sailed for me. So instead of looking at what society tells you success looks like, rethink that. What does real success look like for you? And when you can reframe that, that may help you feel like you can do this. So what will that look like when you do the thing you are afraid of if success looks different? So how can you reframe what success looks like? How can you change your thoughts about what success will be for you if you go do this one thing? Maybe it's just helping one person. The third tool you can put into your toolbox when fear and doubt creep in and your imposter syndrome's raising its ugly head is remember you were created for this. And some days I just need to sit down before I get started on anything else I do. After my Bible time, my quiet time, is to pull out my Clifton Strengths 34 report and read it. And this reminds me of my superpowers and how if I don't do this thing, then I'm wasting my talent. And if you ever feel like you're not qualified, then I encourage you to go back and review your natural talents and strengths. So if you've taken the Clifton Strengths assessment from Gallup, just pull out your Clifton Strengths 34 report and really read that part that's exclusively about you, the part that's highlighted about you in your top 5. And if you haven't taken the Clifton Strengths assessment yet, then head over to Gallup and just take the full Clifton Strengths 34 report. If you need support on that, reach out to me. And as you're looking at and reminding yourself of your superpowers and your talents that are unique to you, remember you're 1 in 33 million. There's no one else on earth that has your talents, that has your experience, that has your gifts, your spiritual gifts. There's no one else out there. So if not you, then who? So remember, you were created for this. The fourth tool is I truly believe that if God put something in your heart to do, then He has equipped you for that. And sometimes For me, so I dig into my Bible and look for reassurance. And remember, God is calling you to do this thing. Here are some Bible verses just to give you inspiration. Joshua 1:9 says, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." Proverbs 3:5-6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." Romans 12:2 says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will." Those are just a few that I love. But find those Bible verses, find those quotes. What is it that will help you stay inspired? And again, remember, if God put a dream in your heart, he has equipped you to achieve that dream, but he expects you to do the work. And as the saying goes, and John Ortberg actually wrote a book on it, if you want to walk on water, you have to get out of the boat, which leads me to the next step, the next tool that I want to share with you. And that's just get into action. Number 5, just get into action and do it afraid. This, my friend, is the most important step. You've got to get out of your head and quit thinking about doing something and just do it. Mel Robbins talks about taking action in 5 seconds. If you Google online, you'll see lots of different people talking about a 20-second rule. Nike, of course, says just do it. You pick. Is it just do it? Is it 5 seconds of bravery or 20 seconds of bravery? The goal is just to get into action. My writing coach tells us to write just one sentence. If you do nothing else that day, she says, just write one sentence. And I'll be honest, last night, it was Friday, and I hadn't done any work on my book yet. And I was feeling really guilty. And I thought about her saying, just write one sentence. So around 7 p.m. last night, I sat down at my computer and thought, I'm just going to write one sentence. Well, you know what? An hour later, I had 1,000 words typed out. So what's one action step you can do today to move from fear to action? Maybe is it write one sentence for that blog, that email, that book that you need to write, you've been wanting to write? Is it call one person and offer to help them with the problem you feel called to solve? This, by the way, is another step in the Discovering Your Calling Academy. It's just go out there and try it. Just go out there and offer your services. Maybe do you need to buy a book that would teach you how to do the thing you want to do? Is it you need to fill out a job application for that job that you've been dreaming about, but you've been scared to fill out the application because you don't feel like you have all the qualifications? Just fill out the application. Let them decide if you're qualified for the job or not. Or do you maybe need to call a mentor or reach out to a mentor and say, can we just have coffee so I can get inspired by how you've achieved this? I don't know what that next step is, but I have a feeling you do. So I would encourage you to think about that. Like, what is that best next step that you've been avoiding that will just get you into action? And I promise you, once you get into action, things will start to flow. Things will start to happen. And sometimes you can't stop once you're in action, just like that snowball rolling down the hill. But you got to take that first step. So my friend, these are just a few of the tools to overcome fear, doubt, and all those things that can keep you stuck. And here's the bottom line. I want you to know and remember that fear is normal when we step outside of our comfort zone. But you have to learn to move through the fear and get into that growth mindset to get unstuck. Otherwise, you'll never achieve the big things that God has placed in your heart, the big dreams that you have for your life, the big things that you're equipped to go out and do. Just step through that comfort or step through the fear and out of the comfort zone. So, my friend, what is that big goal that you've been putting off because of fear? And which one of these tools do you need to lean into right now? Is it remembering your why? Is it changing your thoughts about what success really looks like? Is it remembering that you were created for this and review your Clifton Strengths 34 report? Is it digging into your Bible and looking for reassurance? Or do you just need to do that first step and get into action and do it afraid? Now, something else that helps is having an accountability buddy. My husband is who I hold accountable to. I tell him daily, okay, this is what I'm going to work on today for my book. And I'm writing this book for him. That's something else to think about. Didn't include this in here, but maybe that's number 6 is who are you doing this for? Is it for your child to set an example? Is it for your spouse? Is it for your grandma because you promised her you would do this thing on her deathbed? Like, who are you doing this for? I'm doing this for my husband because he keeps pushing me to do it in a good way. So I ask him to hold me accountable. So who can be your accountability buddy? You know what else? I'm doing this book. I consider you my accountability buddy for writing this book. That's why I share it on the podcast that I'm writing a book, because now you and everybody else listening to this podcast can hold me accountable. You have permission to ask me, Sherry, how's the book coming? When's the book coming out? And I want to do the same for you. So if you have a big dream, a big goal, let's stay accountable to each other. So feel free to reach out to me. You can find me on Facebook on the DMs or send me an email at sherry@sherrymiterco.com and just say, hey, this is what I'm working on. Hold me accountable, Sherry. And bottom line is, my friends and my friend, I want you to remember that you have been called and created for such a time as this. And if it's not you, then who? There's a mission that you feel drawn to do, a problem you see in the world that no one else even sees sometimes, an impact only you can make based on your gifts, your experience, your talents. So just do it afraid. Take that first step. And just do it. Take Nike's advice and just do it. I believe in you. I can't wait to see what powerful things you are going to create in this world. And I appreciate you for holding me accountable to write the book. We'll catch you next week with some more tips to help us both live into our greatness.
Thank you for spending this time with me. My hope is something you heard today inspires you to take action toward discovering your calling. I just have 2 favors to ask of you before you go. 1, if you found value and enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and you might hear your review read on a future episode. And 2, can you share this episode with 3 friends who will also enjoy it as much as you did? By doing these things, you will help us grow the podcast to make a bigger impact on the world. And until next week, remember, you've been created to live a life of fulfillment, freedom, purpose, success, and joy.